This conference will now be recorded.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the June 23rd, 2020 Tenino City Council work session. I really can't tell who's here. So maybe if you turn on your microphone and tell me you're here.
Linda is here.
Linda.
Jason's here.
John's here.
Jason.
Rachel's here.
Rachel.
Dave's here.
Hi, Dave. Hello, Dave. All right, that's the whole city council. We've got a pretty good work session here, and we got 30 minutes to cover it, so we're just going to start right into it. First topic, Retail Locksbox has proposed an amendment to our agreement under which all costs for the acceptance of credit and debit cards for the payment of utility accounts will be borne by Retail Lockbox. I'll ask Mr. John Millard to cover the basics of that one.
Sorry about that, lost my microphone button. What's going on here is recall that when we started with Retail Lockbox, they told us that there was no model where the city could obtain the service at no cost to the city. They've changed their tune when they found out that we were looking at another agency that indeed could provide us a model where we could reduce the cost to the city and not increase the fees that are being borne by those who use the card. When Retail Lockbox found out we were in those negotiations, they reached forward. That's what this letter says. Yes, indeed, we can amend your agreement. We can remove the cost from the cities. The ACH fees will be paid by others, and there will be, this looks like a 0.4% increase over what we are currently charging. We're charging 2.5%. $1.25 per transaction is exactly what everybody's paying right now. And so this is a new agreement between us. It's for a different level of service. The city will bear no costs. I have to take them at their word, although I still continue to be surprised by some of the fees that we do wind up paying to accept credit cards on behalf of our citizenry. So I guess what we're doing is I'm not really asking for you to approve this. I'm asking for your consideration and your thoughts. Do we want to continue our relationship with Retail Lockbox at a reduced cost to the city, or do we want to change to a different provider who was honest enough and upfront with us enough to lay out the program in advance that would cost the city less money? So whatever you guys want us to do is.
So are there alternative programs that you would be interested in introducing to the city council for consideration?
Well, we already have. We've been briefing them. It's been put on hold for any number of reasons. A transition to certified payment systems. Crystal Ramos came and visited us several times. We maintain contact. They're still very interested in working with us. When the mayor of Bucota called me for my recommendation, I recommended certified payment systems, again, because they're honest and upfront. They didn't try to portray themselves as, the only option we would have would be to accept one of the service for fee models that we ultimately wind up contracting for.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Millard?
I guess my only comment is.
Say I told you so, but I did.
Let's Can we, Dave clicked his mic on first, so we'll start with Dave Watterson. Sorry, John.
Not a problem.
Value to honesty and being upfront with people. So my would lean to, if we feel like the proposed company is more forthright with us and willing to work with us, I would say move forward with them.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember O'Callahan?
Gotta remember, I hate this part because it's a told you so, but I try to tell you guys that they had programs like this. And every time I did, you guys said, no, nobody's got that.
So what do you,
Get rid of the guys
is
that
there a
lied.
recommendation hidden in the I told you so?
Yeah, is to get rid of the guys that lied to us.
Okay, okay.
We just need to make sure that this new one, that it really is all up front, and that is exactly what they're going to do.
Okay.
I think the new one's fine, as long as we can trust the fact that it is going to be what they say.
We've had the city attorney look at this, and he agrees that it would be in the city's best interest.
To switch
Okay.
services or update this contract?
To switch the contract. I beg your pardon.
Okay. Okay, so we don't have this on the agenda for action or anything like that tonight. If anybody wants to make a motion at some point to put this on the agenda to update the contract, that's fine. If you don't, we will return at a subsequent meeting with an alternative contract to the, does that sound right, John?
That's exactly correct. Thank you.
Okay, somebody with a V on their name just turned their microphone on. Who's that?
Veronica, can I ask a quick question?
No, yes, go ahead.
Didn't Certified say that we could also take the credit cards for building permits and others?
Yes, that's in addition to being forthright up front, the other advantage they have over retail lockbox is we can apply the same model and accept credit cards for any products or services that the city offers.
Okay, this was the one where we could build in the fee schedule to the payment system?
That's correct.
Okay, that's a big bonus. So we could have camping fees, quarry house fees.
Well, the true beauty of that is while you're correct, we can accept the credit cards over the website so that it's almost going to force us into updating our system for accepting reservations in the campground, at the quarry house. It's going to move us forward in that direction.
That all sounds good. Okay, so that's the direction we'll take unless anybody kicks us under the table. We will bring an alternative contract to consider at a subsequent meeting. All right, next item is the Wooden Money Program. The administration would like to propose, and we don't need a kind of motion or anything like this. This will be an administrative committee. We're proposing the formation of a work group for the purpose of conducting an in-progress review of the city's COVID-19 relief program. Of concern is whether the program is meeting the needs of the community, and if not, what can be done better to improve on that. Another concern is the valuation of the script and whether the final disposition as written should be changed to include alternate disposition instructions to accommodate changing financial conditions. So, this program has taken on a life of its own. It's getting a lot of traction in a lot of different ways. What we're looking at is bringing in some minds into the fold to create kind of a review or a work group that can maybe make some recommendations to the city council, reevaluate it. Is it working? Is it not working? What can be done better? That kind of thing. So we're looking for some extra help. Aslan has offered to participate. I'd like some council participation. If anybody would like to participate, maybe If there's anybody, Watterson, you love doing this stuff. It's not going to meet a lot, so maybe they meet once, maybe they meet 3 times. I imagine John Millard would take part. I will participate, and then you know, maybe another council member, some community members, somebody from the chamber. So, is there anyone on the council that would like to participate in a review committee for the wooden money?
When do you have the meetings, or when will the meetings be?
To be determined.
Because if it works around my work schedule, then yeah, I'd love to be on it too.
Okay, so Jason, Dave.
Yeah, I would do it if you need some, if you want another one.
Okay, so I'll include you two, and then we'll maybe we'll recruit somebody from the chamber, from the community that maybe yeah, we'll find somebody, maybe somebody with some finance understanding. So
I can do it too if you need more from council.
that would create a quorum. Then there would be a council meeting. So so if you guys want to fight it out or something like that, I don't want to exclude anybody, but we can only do 2 council members at a time. So I'm, instead of putting anybody on the spot, why don't?
Hey, Wayne, you
Yeah.
can make me an alternate. If one of the other 2 can't do it, I'll jump in.
Oh, okay. Okay, that works.
And same
Yeah,
here too. I was just jumping in there in case we needed more people.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll just schedule a meeting and we'll work that out. The administration, what's that?
I have a question, Wayne.
Go ahead, sir.
What are you actually looking to do to quote unquote make it better? It was supposed to be a pretty simple, straightforward program.
It is. I want feedback from you guys. Is, you know, you know, to look at what we've done and to tell us if, you know, we can do it better, if it's set up right. It's just, to me, it's another, like, it's an opportunity to review it.
How much has already gone out?
About $2,000.
It's not a whole lot to review.
Okay, well, that should be a short meeting.
Yeah, we asked for 10. We set it up for 10. Only 2 has gone out. As far as I know, just about everybody that knows about it knows about it. Everybody in the city, and I've already had a couple of people asking me, can they just buy some from us? And I told them no, what it's all about. And they said, okay, thank you, not a problem. It was supposed to be a simple, straightforward. If you can show that you had COVID, financial problem because of COVID-19, then we would be able to help. That seems pretty straightforward and simple. When we start including a whole lot of people and saying things like, well, what can we do better? You know, it starts to sound like it's going to get more complicated.
We'll just have to make sure we don't complicate it more.
Okay.
But I totally expect.
Sorry, Wayne, to cut you off.
Go ahead.
I was just to say I don't see a problem with reviewing it and setting up and see what we can do better as a community to make this community better.
Okay. All right. Number 3, the administration would like to engage the city council on current status and focus of we talked about this at the last meeting, of the Tenino Planning Commission, with a view toward opening a change window to update the city's comprehensive plan. Up until very recently, the Tenino Planning Commission has been focused on educating the commission about the Growth Management Act and related specialty topics to better prepare the commission for deliberations centered around such a proposed change to the city's comprehensive plan. The administration has had conversations with the chairman of the commission, as well as with the contracted planner from SCJ Alliance, to begin considering a number of identified concerns with the current plan. The incorporation of possible zoning changes, possible changes to either the UGA, the city limits, or both, and the addition of both an economic development chapter and the incorporation of the Arch Commission to the creative district to the comprehensive plan. So we wanted to open that up for discussion and see if there's any thoughts or concerns regarding us opening up the comprehensive plan for the year. We get to do it once a year, and it's a lengthy process, but the planning commission is kind of chomping at the bit to do a number of things.
It's Dave. I think it's a good idea to open up, take a look. I think there's some things we could look at changing. Just an FYI, that issue that I had brought forward last meeting about the renewable energy thing, I had to drop it because of some personal things. I just don't have time to deal with it. So that's not going to be on we didn't apply for that grant that I talked about last meeting.
The biodigester thing?
No, I think last meeting I talked to you about
the sustainable.
sustainable, yeah,
Yeah.
putting some language in there. So we didn't even get to the application process, so that won't be an issue.
Okay. Any other feedback? Councilmember O'Callahan?
Thank you. I was just gonna have them make sure that they're not biting off more that they can chew.
Mm-hmm.
You know, instead of being over expansive, bring it down to what might be some of the most important parts. Take care of that, because we have to update it every year. And the ranch out there, from what I understand, is the Alpaca Ranch is under contract. I think I heard that there was actually earnest money put down, but I'm not positive. So that can change a whole lot of things really quick. So, you know, there's a lot of moving parts going on, and I just don't want to see them take on a whole lot and get a little bit accomplished. You know what I mean?
A little bit, like when you go to write an essay and you get a little, you want to cover this big topic, and really you got to focus it down so you can actually be effective.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll talk to Will about. I'll make sure Will, gets the advice. Anybody else? John, did you have any comments on that, John Millard?
In speaking to Councilmember O'Callahan's point, that is one of the things that they want to do, is look at what we know needs to be changed in our municipal code, specifically in the land development regulations, that are based in the comprehensive plan, and decide whether or not we need to change things so that development by people who are buying property in West Tenino can actually make a fiscally sound decision. Part of what's been going on in West Tenino, it's been languishing for all these years because several different factors combined, but all that property is held by one owner, and he's been stymied, not by what is written, but by the way it was implemented. And so now he's finally willing to work with everyone involved and divest himself of that property and open it up for development. And what we are hearing consistently from the developers is they want to develop here. They want to work with us to get their developments acceptable to us. And so that's what we're trying to do.
Okay. So that's something that we'll keep moving forward. Next subject, Director Cannon has prepared his recommendations for this year's update to the 6-year street plan. I do not see him on here. It's on the agenda. I'm going to keep moving past that because we have 2 other topics and 10 minutes. The administration has been working a renewal of Comcast franchise agreement for several months. We finally reached the point where the agreement is ready for adoption by ordinance. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Millard. You have 4 minutes. Alexa, start a 4-minute timer.
Well, it should take 4 minutes. So what happened is the regulatory environment changed significantly, and about 2 years ago, and Comcast reached out to us and said, "Hey, you know, it really hasn't been that long since we did an agreement with you guys, but we would like to change the existing agreement so that the agreement complies more fully with the new national legislation. You know, cable industries regulated by the Federal Communications Commission, and the FCC changed the rules. So we said, okay, great, let's do this. Let's do it for a period of 10 years instead of 7, so we won't have to go through this nut roll as frequently. And so we did that. The cable industry is now capped. You know, in their view, it's good because the ability of the taxing agencies has been more limited. From the taxing, or from the public's perception, what this means is that the cable companies no longer have to provide free cable television to franchise that would be the city in this case. They're not going to provide free television, cable television, to the school district. And interestingly enough, the school district is fine with that. The city's fine with that. We don't subscribe to Comcast television services, so you know, we don't get free TV here at City Hall. As far as I know, we never have. The police department doesn't use it, and the school district has moved to streaming video. So you know, maybe the regulators actually knew what they were doing in this case. I don't know. In terms of revenue, this is slightly more favorable to us. I mean, it's a modest increase. So over the life of the contract, we would see more revenue. But really, you know, in practical terms for everyday users and for the maintenance of the system and what's required, it's not a change. But it is a new ordinance. It's for a longer period of time, and in order to agree with it, you guys will have to adopt it.
Do I have any questions?
I have one question. Is there anything in here that limits competition if there's another provider that is wanted to come in here?
No, that was one of the things that's right up front here. You know, a non-exclusive right. So what we're, you know, a franchise is granted for a private use of a public right of way. So you know, all this over, in, among, across, and all this public ways, that's what it's, you know, what it's really saying is, hey, Comcast, you can install your cable system along the telephone poles or in conduits underneath the pavement, and if you have to fix it, you have to fix the streets that you tear up, and you know, the things they do have to be done to a certain standard, and what they must provide is regulated, and what they can charge is regulated, but only to the extent that the FCC allows within the federal regulatory structure. So again, where the city's concerned, it really means if they come in and tear up the streets, what standard can we hold them to for repair? We can't make them make all brand new streets, but we can.
All right,
I'm out.
sorry, I'm gonna cut you off. Alexa, stop. That is on the agenda tonight under new business. I don't see an action as an action item, but you know, this is something that we've been covering for a long time that we could take action on. We could brief it out a little more in there. Next item, state liquor and cannabis state LCB recently changed its rulings regarding the serving of alcohol outdoors. City has had several requests from Tenino merchants urging the city to amend our municipal code to allow for the designation of certain outdoor areas as areas where alcohol may be served. In light of the number of merchants in our business community who not only serve but manufacture beer, wine, and spirits, the administration recommends the amending of our municipal code to allow for the designation of outdoor areas there where alcohol may be served, provided that the appropriate LCB rules are observed. So it has allowed some outdoor serving areas for a while, but they've lightened some of the requirements with regard to like markers of delineation, and what Olympia has already jumped on board, kind of lightening up some of these restrictions. And so instead of like a 48-inch barrier, they'll have medallions on the ground that allow for demarcation. And sorry, some of the thought is because of the 50% capacity restrictions within businesses, allowing some outdoor service areas for restaurants and say the winery is kind of giving them a little help when they've got these restrictions. I want your feedback on the concept of that. So we've got 1 minute before the next subject. I got one more subject I want to cover. So Alexa, start a 1 minute timer. Anybody have any comments or questions?
Starting now.
I'm supportive of it. I think especially like you said, with them not being able to serve as many people in their establishments, allowing outdoor seating areas was a benefit to them. And I don't see much risk that I can see off the top of my head.
Okay, anybody else?
Yes, I agree with Dave. Yes, I believe that they should be allowed to do that. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, there's some pretty good model ordinances, model legislation that's out there. So it's my hope that at our next council meeting, we can have something to maybe do a first reading on. Alexa, stop the timer. All right, next subject, Thurston County Sheriff's Office contract for jail services. So we are in the pandemic, and during the COVID fiasco, we've got the jails that, we've got a couple different jails we use. We typically go towards using the Chehalis Tribal Jail or the Nisqually Tribal Jail. They cost less, and also the Thurston County Sheriff's Department does not allow for municipal misdemeanors to be booked into their jail. There's a lot of issues with the jail and kind of things that are going on there. They've got a lot of beds. They've got a ton of beds, but then they kind of get into a fight over staffing and budgets and how many people they need to safely operate the jail at capacity and getting money and whatnot. So there's kind of a hard stance, I believe, that the department there has taken that leaves a lot of those beds unable to use. So typically we take our misdemeanors to Chehalis and Nisqually. Chehalis is completely shut down their jail during this emergency. Nisqually, they're like not even answering the phone when we call. So this really becomes an issue when you have a domestic violence misdemeanor. If it's a felony, Thurston County Jail takes them, no problem. If it's a misdemeanor, we call and Thurston County Jail says, no, you can't take in misdemeanors. However, in this state, in any domestic violence incident, somebody has to be booked in jail by law. So we had an incident over the weekend where there was a DV, misdemeanor, assault, and our officer ended up with an offender in custody with nowhere to take them. So they tried to take them to one of the tribal jails. They don't answer the phone. They're not even open. They try to book them at Thurston County Jail and they say, no, you can't take them here. Not going to do it. We have no alternatives. So we are trying to come up with a stopgap where we would have an agreement with the Thurston County Sheriff to take those while we work out a contract and a more long-term solution with the Lewis County Jail, which will take our offenders. I believe that I could sign a temporary contract under the emergency declaration without needing council approval, because having the ability to take our offenders somewhere is, I think, clearly an emergency. So unless somebody wants to yell at me, spit in my eye, tell me I'm wrong, we will proceed in that fashion along with the attorney's recommendations and do everything as best we can. Is that okay? Any comments before the meeting? If anybody hates that, bring it up during the meeting. But right now, It's 7:30, so I'm going to end the work session. And I'm going to bring the city council meeting to order. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the June 23rd, 2020 Tenino City Council meeting. Let the record show that all council members are present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. That brings us to our agenda for the evening.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. That brings us to the minutes for the June 9th, 2020 Tenino City Council regular meeting.
Move approval.
We have a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes for June 9th. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Those
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. That brings us to the consent calendar.
Move approval.
Second.
John, would you mind bringing that up on the screen? We have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar, payroll EFTs in the amount of $28,897.38. Claims checks number 29169 through 29XXX in the amount of $70,493.11 for a grand total of $99,309.49. Claims checks number 29170, 29174, and 29194 were voided because those payments were made by EFT.
So do we have to fine for X?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Hi.
Motion passes. Thank you. Executive session, none. Presentations, none. Public comments. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to provide public comment? Please turn on your microphone, state your name and address.
Hi, it's Linda from the library. And I was trying to, I guess you're not gonna be able to see me, but, oh wait, I can do it down here.
Okay, we have you on under presentations. You can use your 3 minutes now, or you can use your 3 minutes then. Go ahead.
I'll just go ahead and do it now. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that the library is open
Alexa, start a 3-minute timer.
for limited use. Today we started our library takeout, which is on Tuesdays and Saturdays between 1 and 5. People can come to the library parking lot and follow the directions on the sign there. So holds are available for pickup, returns, the book drop will be open during those times. And you can also pick up print jobs that you sent wirelessly to the library's printer. So our very first step in getting back to normality, hopefully we'll be able to add some new things soon, but for now, at the Tenino Library, Tuesday and Saturday from 1 to 5 for pickup. We are answering our phones now that we're starting our takeout service, so you can call during our regular business hours. And we're happy to answer any questions that you might have about the process, or to put some books on hold for you, or to help however we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Alexa, stop timer. This is nice.
3-minute timer canceled.
All right, that brings us to public hearing. Director
What about
Cannon.
Mr. Mayor, what about the business licenses that are marked on my agenda? I got
What?
an old agenda. The business licenses, it says.
I don't have that on my agenda.
Oh, okay. Says Scotty B. I'm looking at it.
Yeah, it's part of the consent calendar.
Oh, well, yeah, we already approved that in the consent calendar.
Okay.
Is there something you want to talk about on it?
No. I was just curious. I didn't, because we usually talk about who is applying for a license and we didn't say anything. That's the
Oh,
only reason.
Sorry. Yeah, I didn't catch that. And on the consent calendar, I usually read that off. But it's in the packet, so it was included in the motion. If you want to talk about it, we can pull it from the consent calendar and put it on the agenda.
I don't want to talk about it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes, ma'am. That brings us to public hearing. Director Cannon has prepared his recommendations for this year's update to the 6-year street plan. So this is the public hearing. The public hearing is for public input and discussion of the 2021 to 2026 6-year street plan. This public hearing will proceed in an orderly fashion. And I would like to ask for your cooperation in the following procedure. Everyone present will be given an opportunity to be heard. The clerk will be recording what is said. Therefore, when you address the council, please begin by stating your name and address. Before hearing from the audience, I'm going to introduce Mr. John Millard, the City Clerk Treasurer, to present information on this project. Mr. Millard.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As the mayor said, Director Cannon has pulled together his recommendations for inclusion in the 6-year street plan. And here in this document, he has ordered them in priority of Old Highway 99 West. This is particularly that stretch from the western city limit to Highway 507 on the east side. That is all now responsibility of the city, and it needs some help. His second priority is Ritter Street, particularly around the intersection of Sussex. Get that street widened and make some safety improvements. He says reconstruction, no added capacity. That means trying to pave that intersection. McClellan Street, this last winter, if I remember correctly, almost all of you received something about puddling and that on McClellan Street, so we want to try to get that fixed. And then Park Avenue West and so on and so forth. But the main point here is he's listed these in the order of priority in which he would like them fixed. Other than that, this is the same update we do every year.
Okay. Back to the public hearing document. If you would please. At this time, the floor is open for comments from the audience. In fairness to all in attendance, each person will be given an opportunity to address the council for an initial period not to exceed 3 minutes. If more time is needed, it will be made available after everyone has had a chance to speak. I am requesting the council members to hold their questions of the public until everyone is done. At this time, is there anyone in the public that would like to provide testimony regarding the 2021-2026 6-year street plan? Hearing none, I'll proceed. Council members, do you have any questions of the audience or staff? Hearing none, this public testimony of this hearing is now closed. Thank you. New business. We have the 6-year street plan. We are asking for council approval of the 6-year street plan as presented.
Move approval.
Second. I had to turn the mic on.
We have a motion. We have a second to adopt by resolution, a resolution of the city of Tenino, Washington, adopting the 2021 to 2026 6-year street plan pursuant to revised code of Washington 35.77.010. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those
I,
opposed? Motion adopted. Thank you. Next item, the administration's been working on a renewal of the Comcast franchise agreement for several months and have finally reached the point where the agreement is ready for adoption by ordinance. The Risk Management Service Agency and the city attorney have been intimately involved with the negotiations, and both are satisfied that the agreement not only meets all legal, insurance, and indemnity requirements, but it also is in the best interest of the city. We are asking the council approve the service agreement as presented.
Move approval of the
Okay.
Comcast agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 913, an ordinance of the city of Tenino, Washington Municipal Corporation, granting Comcast Cable Communications LLC, the successor in interest to Comcast, its successors and assignees, lessees, blah, 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 necessary or appurtenant to conducting a cable telecommunications system. Going down to the bottom here. Signed and approved by the mayor on this 14th day of July, 2020. Do we have any discussion?
Yes.
Sir?
Dave asked a question a little bit earlier, and I think it wasn't answered. The question that he asked was, will a different franchise be able to come in, or is it still locked down because of the mom and pop rule? Because right now Comcast can't bring telephone service in, but Verizon for some reason can. But there's no other cable company that can come in to have any kind of competition with Comcast.
Councilmember O'Callahan, Clerk Treasurer Millard, if that is true, that is not in this agreement. That's some other rule or statute that perhaps they have to follow, but this agreement is a non-exclusive agreement.
Okay, that means nobody else can come in. Okay.
No. That means that we are not exclusively granting rights to only Comcast.
Correct.
Okay.
This is just allowing Comcast, and it doesn't exclude anyone else from being a service provider here, according to this agreement. What you're talking about may be something else, and we can look into it, but it has no relevance to this agreement.
Okay. The question that I personally have is, what is this going to do to the individual's rates? It's apparently going to bring more money into the city. So where's that money going to come from? It's going to come from the rate bearers.
Mr. Millard, are you able to field that one?
Just not in the particular, but in the general, the customer always bears cost increases. If your question is, are we going to raise the tax rates? The answer is we cannot.
No, that's not what I'm asking. Because they're saying that they're going to be able to give us more money for this franchise, right?
They want to come in here and provide a service to our citizens, and for us to allow them to use the right of ways and to come and do that, we have to have an agreement with them.
I understand that. It still comes down to cost. They're saying that if we agree to this, that they're going to be able to give us more money. They give the city more money, correct?
No, their primary reason for wanting to do this is so that they can take advantage of the more favorable regulatory environment at the federal level. We didn't have to agree to do this with them. We could have said, no, we don't want to negotiate a new agreement until this current one ends, but it's really not in our best interest to do that.
Why?
Because we get more money.
That's what I just said. We're going to get more money. Where's that coming from?
It
If they're
has to
going to
come
give
from the
us
people
more
who are
money,
subscribing to this service.
I understand that. How much more is it going to cost our citizens? Because right now, for basic cable, it's with internet, it's costing me $131 a month. That's a lot of money. If they're
Yeah.
going to give us more money, the only way that they're going to be able to do that, give the city more money, is to pass that on to the ratepayer. So how do we have any idea of what the ratepayers are going to expect?
Well,
I do not.
if I may, these are, I mean, these are essentially boilerplate agreements that Comcast comes out with to come in and figure out an ability to provide a service in a community. We can't just say you can come in here for free.
I'm not
Right?
saying that.
So
I'm just
we work with the service provider to figure out what the industry standard is, and then I mean, we're not going, we're not going anywhere very far left or right. We're looking to find a fair agreement that, passes the smell test to where we can allow them to provide a service and we can, meet the statutory requirements of, charging them a fee.
Wayne, I understand this. I've been through many of these and I ask the same questions every time. We had one company that wanted to come in and say, we're never going to use this, but we want to have the right of way to put in a trunk line. And we're only going to give you, I think it was $1,000. Okay. Now, if they're putting in a major trunk line, are they really not going to use it? They're using it for something. Well, I got them to up the amount. It still wasn't a whole lot, but it went from 1,000 to I think 2,500. See what I mean?
Yeah.
These are just questions. Whenever these come up, these are the questions that I ask on this, because I really don't believe that they're being, they're taking money from our citizens to give to the city, but it's still coming from them. And when they increase their rates to give us more money, they're increasing their rates more so that they maintain their.
I understand what you're saying. I just don't understand what the alternative is to what we're doing. Like you're right. I mean, you're right to identify an issue, and yes, the fee gets passed on to the consumer. That's the way business works. I'm trying to listen to understand what the alternative is, and if you're proposing something or if you're just like identifying something.
I'm just identifying something right now.
Okay.
And every time one of these
I
come up,
respect that.
it's been a while. It's just one of those things that's a little bit of a heartburn to me. And if this truly is a non-exclusive, then maybe we need to start looking at other companies that provide internet and television, and invite them to provide those services down here.
Yeah. Well, it's a very competitive environment right now,
Yes, it
and
is.
I don't think it's going to get any less competitive with digital technology. So, I mean, yeah, Comcast, they're probably not sleeping well at night, kind of forecasting the future, with worrying about infrastructure as it becomes less and less, physical.
See, and the other thing that's been promised to us for years is that we would have higher speed internet, and that we would have digital lines running through, and we still don't. They have a monopoly down here. That's why they don't have to be competitive. There needs to be a way for us to find so that they can become competitive and make it better for our citizens.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I got to say on this. It's just a little heartburn that I have all the time with them.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the council? I'm seeing no green microphones. So with no further comment, I will call the question. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Rachel's always the last one. There's probably a camping lag. Motion passes. Thank you. Good discussion. Thank you, Councilmember O'Callahan. That brings us to reports. Chamber of Commerce. Linda, do you have a report for us?
Not much going on right now, of course.
Okay. EDC, I don't think there's a lot of meetings going on. I had the shovel groundbreaking for the ag park for putting in the water lines. The EDC arranged and participated in that. It went very well. BCB, they're kind of in a place where they're just trying to find solid ground. It's the tourism industry is kind of nobody knows what's going on there right now. Fire district, library gave the report. Museum, any report from the museum?
Not a one. Been quiet.
Okay. Arch Commission.
You know, I should report that I've obtained the key to the garden area that's between the beauty shop and the winery. And the chamber is going to start cleaning it up on Saturday, the 27th. Anybody who wants to come and help, we're going to be there at 9 a.m. And we're going to use the front 10 feet to advertise for the Creative District and other chamber things that we're doing. So
Awesome. Civil Service Commission has not met. Planning Commission, I attended it. John, you want to brief that out?
Sure.
Alexa, start a 3-minute timer.
2 minutes. Starting
The
now.
planning commission met for the first time in several months, and so that like you guys did, they had a few sets of minutes to go through, and then the mayor and I briefed them on what was going on in the city over the course of the last 6 months. The central presenter during what we hope was the last instructional meeting was Thurston County's hydrological engineer, a geoengineer. And he had some very interesting things to show us, but if he showed them to us, he couldn't talk about them. And if he could talk about them, he couldn't show them to us. So
due to like a bandwidth with his internet.
Yeah, it was. So the first 10 minutes or so, we were desperately trying to tell him that we could see his graphic but couldn't hear him. And the mayor came up with a clever response. He just wrote a note on and held it up to his camera. We can't
Yeah.
hear you.
I was like, he was talking and I just go, we can't hear you.
And it worked. So he made the graphic go away, and then he explained the who, what's, where's, when's, and why of why the state of Washington is where it is with respect to water, and what the future might hold, which is they ain't making any more water, so we have to find ways of putting water back into the ground, but not just in the ground. We have to put it into the ground in a place where it will recharge our aquifer, not anybody else's. And the reason that's important is because where our wastewater treatment plant is located, it puts the water back into the ground after our aquifers, so we don't get any credit for it. So that was very interesting. You know, we might be hitting you up with a request to build a pipeline from the west side of Tenino to the east side of Tenino so that we can pump water into the ground or something. But we expect this next meeting of the Planning Commission, I haven't had an opportunity to discuss his exact plans, but Chair Rutherford really, as the mayor mentioned, to use his words, chomping at the bit to sink their teeth into some meat and potatoes and work with these developers around here that are anxious to get Tenino going again.
Okay, thank you. Alexa, stop timer. That brings us to figure. Linda is, I don't believe they've met. Finance Committee, Public Safety Committee, Chief of Police. He's driving. I gave a brief out on the Sheriff's Department issue, the jail issue. We're coming to the end of his temporary contract. So, and he was reluctant to want to be a full-time chief. So we're talking to him about if he wants to continue maybe helping with administrative duties. But we have nothing really official to brief out on Chief Swain's absence. He is going through, he's I believe kind of at the end of his doctor's visits, and he has clearance from his personal doctor. Now we have to reconcile that with an independent medical examination as stipulated by the insurance company. So that's kind of where he's at. So, you know, we're working that out. Issues of civil unrest. We're all well aware of the issues of civil unrest that have been going on throughout this country, and most notably in like Seattle, very notably in Olympia. We are trying our best to keep tabs on information, rumors, reports on things that are going on in the community, different things that are causing angst. You know, there's a lot of social media chatter over various subjects throughout the last week or two. We're trying to remain diligent in monitoring these things so that we can respond to the needs of our citizens and our business community. There were reports of protests and counter protests that were or weren't going to happen over the weekend. We watched those. We ended up bringing in an additional officer just to kind of keep an eye on things. There was a few people that stood on a corner with some signs of support for various movements, and it was very peaceable. It's hard, you know, we are kind of the level of, you know, what's okay is askew in my opinion, just because anxiety levels are so high, and you see when one person stands up on a street corner with a sign to say one thing, all of a sudden there's 5 to say the exact opposite on the other street corner, and they don't always talk nice to each other. So we're being very careful of that. The most important thing is public safety over anything else. So if we think that people are going to be being in harm's way, or any of our buildings could be damaged, we're going to take a very serious approach to making sure that we protect everything. Any questions on that? We drafted up like an emergency order in case we had to do a curfew. You know, that was kind of in the you know, kind of in the holster, ready to get dropped. We didn't have to do anything like that. I'd made a phone call to some council members to seek some guidance. Does anybody have any questions on our concerns, approach, philosophy, stances? Seeing nothing. John, you fell asleep?
No, I'm awake.
Okay. I'll continue. That brings us to Director of Public Works, not present. Building planner, city official, not present. City attorney, not present. Clerk treasurer, do you have a report?
I do not have an official report.
Alexa, you have a 3-minute timer.
Met with the director of public works and the city engineer this afternoon at the wastewater treatment plant. The topic of that discussion and walk around was the correct placement of the screening device for septage receiving, and what would be required in the way of earth moving and impermeable surfaces to in place that device. A stormwater treatment plan, generally, what are the requirements we have remaining before we can start septage receiving? And we left that meeting. Troy was going to sketch out a rough diagram of how he saw the best place to put that device with respect to the lagoons out back and the road network there behind the plant, and work with the engineer to get that correct. And then the engineer is going to draft up a plan that meets you know, all the statutory requirements for that kind of thing. We talked a little bit about removing the existing sludge from the ponds. We all understand that that's a critical task that has to get done. He's working on that. And again, we've had a number of inquiries about people wanting to come to town and speak with the mayor and our contracted planner and myself about uh, how they might be able to work with the city to get the things done they want to get done. And that all comes back to the comprehensive plan, our ordinances, our current city boundaries, our current urban growth area or urban growth boundary. And, you know, what are the things that we could do to facilitate business and economic development here? Certainly, we're already well down that road. We're being recognized as a regional leader of getting things like that to happen and getting them to happen quickly. And one of the reasons why is because you all have been really receptive to the ideas we put forth and have allowed us a little bit of room to execute.
Okay, thank you. Comes to my report. We haven't really talked about the quarry pool. So I imagine everyone has already made, come to the conclusion that it will not be opening for the year. We have not really even officially made any kind of statement, just because everybody's so in tune with these phases. We would not be able to open it. If we open it now, we'd only be able to allow 5 people in it. Phase 3 would only be allowed to allow maybe 50 people in it. And to fund that thing, we have to have days where we're, bringing in 800-900 people a day. Beyond that, we would have had to start cleaning it and preparing and training lifeguards in like March. So we couldn't do that. We couldn't start sinking money into something that we didn't know if it was going to even be allowed to be open. So we wouldn't even be able to have it open until like phase 4, which is maybe September if we're lucky. So yeah, it's not going to be open, but we are trying to take the opportunity of its closure to use the grant money that we have in our account, or we have access to do some major renovations to the kiddie pool and other aspects of it. The waterfall, the pump burned out, or the motor burned out on the pump. We bought a motor for it like 6 years ago. The pump's new, the motor was not. We got a lot of life out of it. We have bought a better, bigger, stronger, faster pump, and it's installed, and the electrical should be done tomorrow morning, and you should see the waterfall working tomorrow by noon. John mentioned the septic receiving project. He alluded to it, but the screen, the big stainless steel septic receiving screen that the trucks come and back up to and plug into, we've got it. It's all put together. It's a big, pretty cool device. I went and walked through it with Troy and looked at how it operates, and it looks like it will meet our needs. Now we just have to make sure that we are working with the engineers to design the facility to allow for that. And there's a lot of things a lot of nuances and rules that we got to make sure that we meet so that we can do it legally. So that is a project underway. I've been really busy trying to field lots of different media requests since the wooden money story went viral. That we are in the international news, so I've done press, I've done nationwide radio broadcasts in New Zealand, nationwide broadcasts across Canada, interviews in Norway, all over the United States. Today we did one with Reuters, which will broadcast all over Europe and all over the world. The AP article went all over. The chamber, the city, my inbox, basically anybody in Tenino that somebody thinks that they can get some of this stuff from, they're being bombarded with requests, people offering to buy these wooden dollars for hundreds and hundreds of dollars above face value. So it's really an interesting kind of unexpected consequence. So we're working our way through that, and just also using the opportunity to get the message out of Tenino's brand, spreading the word about our community and some of our community values, really, and especially as far as like promoting local economics and talking about our ag park and things like that. So this project is been beneficial to the community in a lot of different ways, directly helping individuals, directly helping businesses, but also in growing our brand as a community, and sharing our community values with the world. It's pretty crazy to have a global platform for economic reform from an 1,800 person community. So everybody here that has helped bring that together, you guys should all be very proud of this, and we'll see where it takes Tenino. Any questions about anything in my report?
Do you have an interview tomorrow with somebody?
CBS Sunday Morning will be here tomorrow, and we'll be taping with them, filming with them, and they'll be here tomorrow, and they'll be doing interviews, and then they'll be back here on Friday to interview members of the community and business. And then tomorrow night we'll be on there'll be like a longer special, like a 5-minute special, which is a long time for TV, on Como. The Reuters one that we did today, just the Instagram post. I taped like a 15-second Instagram post talking as quickly as I could about Tenino's history, the current program, and how we are hoping to inspire the world to take their own economic destiny more seriously or into their own hands. But that 15-second Instagram post is instantly going to go to 3.1 million people when Reuters puts it on their Instagram. And they'll have the longer story linked in, where we are encouraging other communities to do exactly like our program, which, if you think about it, we've had a lot of places asking us for our ordinances and the program guidelines because they want to do the same thing. But we're putting $10,000 directly into our community. If just 5,000 cities, which is nothing, were to do exactly what Tenino did, that's $50 million that would be invested directly into Main Street businesses across the country. If Tenino inspires something like that, that's amazing. So you guys should all be very proud of what we've done. If no matter what, as far as this goes, but where it's at right now, it's inspired a lot of people. It's pretty cool.
Pretty amazing, all right.
Yeah, it's amazing how it's taken off. What time tomorrow for Como?
I think 6.
Okay.
Okay, that's my report. Be that.
No report.
CIP, no report, I don't believe, and let Dave jump in if it's not true. Solid Waste Advisory Board.
Nothing really new. We're still working on the never-ending update of the solid waste plan. It seems like it's never going to never end, but that's it.
Okay.
You being funny?
A never-ending solid waste plan. TCOM 911, Tenino School Board. Do we have a report from Miss Rachel, the camping lady?
No, well, no report right now.
The graduation parade, we had that since the last meeting? All I heard was good things.
We did. So the high school parade was a lot of fun. The kids got to drive down Sussex, and they cut over to the stadium where they got to take a picture with their diplomas, and then from there they just took off home. And then the 8th graders had their little parade where they drove through past the middle school, and it was all decorated with balloons, where they got a swag bag and well wishes from the principal, and a few of their teachers were there, but they had to keep in the rules too, so only 5 from the staff had to be there. So, but it was still nice. It was still eventful.
Cool. I did
Yeah.
the little Parkside block loop, and that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
The graduation parade, I think it's a successful example of how our partnership with the school works. And so, you know, like we got approached by the school district and parents and whatnot. Can we have a parade? And it's almost last minute, you know, can we have a parade? And we kind of gave them guidelines. No, you can't have it on Sussex because we got to call State Patrol, DOT. We don't have time for that, but we can help you. We can shut down streets. We can lead it with our law enforcement. And so if any group was to come to the city and ask for that kind of assistance, we would have to look at costs. You know, what does it cost to bring in extra officers, bring in our public works guys, and maybe either pay them off duty or give them comp time. What does it cost administrative wise? And we can't absorb those costs for any organization. But because we have the contract with the school for the school resource officer program, and the contract is pretty broad, it allows us to be a more responsive organization to their needs. So I think it's important that everybody remembers that because of that contract, we're allowed to not only provide officers in the school, but we're allowed to respond to their needs more quickly, what they need, when they need. If they all of a sudden they want somebody at a school dance, or they want assistance with one of these parades, we're able to do that without having to pencil it out and see what it costs the city. Just that graduation parade was about, it was something like 23 hours of work putting things together, bringing in officers. So it was about 23 hours of work that the city, was able to bear because we have that already established contract and relationship. So as you talk to community members, I know that cops and police departments are a big subject, and school resource officer programs are a hot topic. I know that everybody wants to look at these things that are going on nationally and apply them unilaterally across the board, and it doesn't really fit situations across the board, and it certainly doesn't fit our situations when people talking about these national programs and these kind of blanket legislation lobbying efforts or talking points. So Denver dropping all its school resource officers was big news, but the Denver school district, and I'm just paraphrasing, I want to say has like 275 schools, and in those 275 schools they have, I believe, they had 17 schools with school resource officers. That becomes weird in that situation when they look at it, and those 17 schools, the only 17 of 275 are schools that are in maybe inner cities, and or schools with predominantly minority populations. So that becomes a sticky point for people. That's not, so what I'm saying is, if you're talking to the community about things like that, those situations where people want to look at these things throughout the country, those don't necessarily apply to our situations. And we have a great relationship with the school, and that contract allows us to serve the school in very positive ways. If you're out there talking with folks, that, to me, that was a good example of why it's important. Anybody have any thoughts, comments?
No, I just have a comment that I almost think that should be a traditional thing. Like, it was a lot of fun, and the kids all had so much fun. There were smiles on everyone's faces going by, and they don't just get wished well from their families, they get wished well from the community.
Yeah, the school's important to our city, and that contract allows us to provide a service that makes that school a priority. Otherwise, we would, if they don't pay the school does not pay property taxes, right? That building does not pay property taxes. And when 2,000 people come in there, most of them are from families that are from outside the city. So they don't necessarily pay for the service either. So it would be hard for us to prioritize without some help. And they're able to help us so that we can make it a priority. Otherwise, we might, it's a tough dynamic. And that contract is very important. We really appreciate it, and it allows us to be a little more holistic. Thurston Regional Planning Council. Councilmember Watterson, do you have anything?
Negative.
Okay. Steady. Nothing.
Just I don't know if George stepped away or whatever, but and I know Linda's on here, but George has been holding regular steady meetings, albeit remotely, and they seem to be not as well attended as the in-person meetings, but still a good means of coordinating between the business community and the various service agencies around. Glad to be able to participate in those.
Thank you. TPB?
We had our meeting. The big part for Tenino is to start looking for the information that we need to put in for that grant. Remember the $600,000+ that we talked about a couple of months ago? Well,
Yep.
we're getting really close to that. Should be another maybe 2 months on the outside before we start applying for as much as we can get from that. That's the part that really affected Tenino. The rest of it was all pretty much stuff that gets kicked up to TRPC.
Okay.
But we did get hacked. And it was not
TRPC did.
pretty. Excuse me?
TRPC did.
No, TPB. Our meeting got hacked. It
Oh,
was,
like Zoom bombed?
yes.
Oh, I've heard that's kind of awkward.
Oh, it was really bad. We had to close down the meeting and re-enter. It was not good.
So weird.
Yeah.
What a hobby.
These are some very hateful people.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. That's it. Public comment period number 2. Is there anyone in the public who would like to provide comment at this time? Please state your name and address. Going once, going twice. That brings us to announcements. And adjournment.
Non-debatable motion.
That's it. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Good night.
See you in the funny papers.
Night.